We are time. Like I said, we were going to be on time, and then we had a little bit of a delay. The first speaker this morning for Gary. However, we're going to move forward. We have. Let me look at my agenda here real quick. John, I see you in the green room. I'm excited to share with you. We are going to hear from Toyinda Smith right now. You guys, Toyinda Smith. Let me just give a brief introduction before we play her video. She has been in my life since I joined the John Maxwell team. I called her and I said, hey, if you're ever back in Indiana, you grew up in Gary. Her story is amazing. If you don't know her, you need to look her up. And yet she poured into me. She spoke at my first live event in 2019. She came all the way from South Carolina and she spoke about stretching yourself. And she has gone way beyond stretching herself. She earned a JMT, John Maxwell Team Culture Award, a couple of years ago. And I'm just so proud of her to know her as a friend. She has a company called The Coaching Seat, and she does amazing things across the world. So, Joe, if you will key this up from Toyinda, and then we will go right into John Eades. So stay tuned, you guys.
Hey everybody, my name is Toyinda Smith and I'm the principal at the Coaching Seat LLC. And I believe the heart of leadership starts with the proper coaching posture. And that posture is a posture of humility. I've learned over my 20 plus years working in leadership, business, education, and athletics that people will follow you because you think more about them and less about you. Because you place people over procedures and you develop people for the future. This means that as leaders, we act as servers, converters, and multipliers. So join me in the VIP room to learn more about the Coaching Seat and how we are changing the world through our heart for postured leadership.
Our next guest is John Eades, an author, speaker, executive coach, and CEO of LearnLoft, a leadership development company that helps managers and executives lead their best. Named one of LinkedIn's top voices in management and leadership, he has a weekly leadership newsletter with over 230,000 subscribers. He's the author of Building the Best, 8 proven leadership principles to elevate others to success. Let's welcome my friend and everyday leader, John Eades. Yay. Let's see if the audio is going. Is the audio going for you, John? Oh, John.
I sure hope so.
Yay. I'm so excited. We are back on track. Thank you for joining us and our condolences. I know you've had a death of an aunt recently here in the last couple of days. And you guys, you don't understand putting on a live event and people that are struggling just like you are with real life stuff. And they show up because this is what leaders do. They are here to pour into you. So John, our condolences, and thank you for just taking time to share your heart with us today.
It's my pleasure. A mentor of mine, my very first interview I ever did, Mel, he said, John, everybody's going through something, whether you know it or not. And I know that to be completely true. And so everyone out there that's here today, I know that life happens. It happens to all of us. And so I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. And I know, we talked about like, okay, is this a PowerPoint? Is this a conversation? John, you are about committed leaders, helping people understand what commitment looks like and how that heart is different than somebody that just says, I want the title. So help me really understand, like, everybody can say, I want to think about leadership. I think this is an important topic, yet you walk the walk. You help people truly understand that to build yourself, you've got to take certain steps, right? You've got to take certain steps. So could you just kind of walk us through, what does that look like for you when you're helping somebody understand that committed heart?
Well, it starts to understand that I wasn't always committed. When I first got the opportunity to lead a team, I wanted a power, I wanted money, I wanted the title, and that's exactly how I led. And as you might imagine, I really struggled. I'm about a year into building a business and a team, and I did what any young leader would do, Mel. I called my most important team member in my office at the end of the day, and I decided to let her go. And at the end of that conversation, 45 minutes, she looked me right in the eyes and she said, John, I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what we were doing. And I didn't know how it was helping us get there. And if you've ever sat in that chair and realized that the problem is not your team and it's not somebody else, the problem is you, it's a very difficult chair to sit in. And in that moment, right after she left my office, I'm a pretty emotional guy anyways. And I put my head in my hands and I cried like a baby. And when I finally got the courage to kind of lift myself up and wipe the tears away, I just said, I don't know why that just happened, God, but I'm going to do everything in my power to not let that happen to other people. And Jocko Willink, who's famously said, there are no bad teams, there are only bad leaders. And unfortunately, like that was that moment where I was living proof that I had failed my team from a leadership perspective. And what I learned through that experience was that I wasn't finished product. I could still get better. I could still grow and I could still develop. And so I spent the next 10 plus years or so really trying to understand and study what the best and the worst leaders do, all in an effort to not let that happen to other people. And, but I wasn't always that committed. I really wasn't. And I wrote about this in Building the Best. I wrote about this because everybody that's here today deserves to hear this. To the leaders who get up every morning and reject the notion of making their life all about themselves, this world needs you more than ever. And what it needs in order to do that, to show up and make your life more than about yourself, it requires commitment. It really requires commitment, because there's a big difference in being interested and being committed. See, I was interested in hunting. I had a really good friend. He said, John, let's go hunting. Let's go hunting. I was like, I've never been, but it sounds fun. I like it. So I went out and I got a gun. I got a license. I got up at 3:30 a.m. I went out to this deer stand with him, got out there, break of dawn, didn't see a deer, didn't shoot the gun. And I've never been hunting again, Mel, because I was simply interested in hunting. See, commitment is much different. Anybody that's been married for 30 years or 25 or 50 or 5 or 1 knows that commitment is much different. Commitment requires some form of sacrifice, doing something in that moment that you might not want to do, but it's what's in your best interest or in the team's best interest.
Okay, we're good.
No, I think this is a really valuable point, because anybody out there right now can think about, how committed am I to leadership? How committed am I to living the way I want to lead? And how, like, I'm here, but am I interested or am I committed? And there's a big difference, Mel. And the reason why I showed this up, and I think most of us fail to realize this in the moment, but while it might not seem like it in the moment, your commitment does matter. Let's say that one more time. While it might not seem like it in the moment, your commitment does matter. I was got a great opportunity to work with this organization. They were giving out awards, and they gave out this award. This gentleman had given 20 years of his career to this organization. And he gets up on stage in front of this entire organization and giving him a standing ovation. And I couldn't help but think, in this amazing moment, how many days he showed up and was committed to this organization over 20 years without the applause, without a standing ovation, without it being this pinnacle moment of 20 years, much like a marriage, much like anything that requires commitment. So wherever you are in your journey right now, it's so critical to just think about that while it might not seem like it in the moment, your commitment means something. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a little bit like I have a 7-year-old, and she said, Daddy, shave your beard, shave your beard. And the reason why I tell you that about shaving your beard is because what I've come to really realize about leadership and being commitment is it doesn't last forever. In fact, your leadership, Mel, is temporary. So is mine. There is not a role that anybody has on this call today that won't one day be had by somebody else. The Pope, somebody else is going to be the Pope. The president, somebody else is going to be the president. Somebody's going to be the president of name your favorite company. And the reason I bring that up right now, Mel, is because you don't have to be committed every single day but you just have to be really committed to where you are right now and the journey that you're on. And you got to give it your very best. So the question that I have for everybody in the chat right now is, are you interested or are you committed to leadership? I mean, I want you to really write it down, like just write in the chat, say, I'm committed. Say committed or interested, because there is a big difference. There's a huge difference to being committed to leadership. And now what I want to do just for the last few minutes we have is I want to go through some things that we've seen in studying so many of these committed leaders over the last 10 plus years, and some of the things that they're doing on an ongoing basis to remain committed, what we call the marks of committed leaders. Are you guys ready to roll?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
The number one thing that all great leaders that are so committed to it is they're committed to a cause. Number one is they are committed to a cause. It makes me think of Scott Harrison, the founder of Charity Water. And if you're not familiar with this charity or Scott's story, Scott started as a club promoter in New York, and he partied his tail off day in and day out, night in and night out. And at some point he felt, man, this is empty. This is really empty. Took a long time, but he got there. And so he decided he wanted to do something with his life. And what he ended up doing is he went and ended up paying somebody to go on this mission trip to Africa to take pictures of these doctors doing surgery on children in Africa. And as he got on this boat and he's traveling around Africa, taking these pictures, he kept seeing over and over again all these young kids with cleft palates that were doing surgery on it. And he didn't understand why so many of them really struggled with this problem. And what he uncovered is that they didn't have clean water. And the lack of clean water was causing these issues in Africa. So what he started to do, he started taking these pictures. He would send it to all his club promoters people and say, look what's happening in Africa. Would you get involved? And eventually, Mel, what he did is he started this company, this nonprofit called Charity Water, and they're out to eradicate the problem of dirty water all over the world.
Gosh,
making sure no one in this world goes without clean water.
That just gives me
It's one
chills.
of the most successful nonprofits of all time.
That gives me chills. And think about right now, John, who right now has an idea, right? Who's thinking about an idea that they have for a cause, that they could do one thing like that? How can you get creative in that space? How can you get curious? We're talking about this all, the curiosity, the consistency, the cause. I love this. And my heart I got chills when you were telling that story. And because it is about your focus, what you do is what what you view is what you do. And if you think you can make impact, right?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting about what you just said, Mel. A lot of people will say, oh, I'm interested in this cause. I'm interested in this cause. I'm not committed to this cause.
Right.
There's a lot of people that want to run a marathon, Mel. And do you know what mile most marathon runners quit?
It's at the very beginning.
I wish. It's actually at mile 20. They run 20 miles and they quit. And the reason why they quit is when they get so tired and their body wants to give out mentally and physically, they said, I don't know if I can make it. And if at that moment where they don't ask themselves that question, and if their cause is not deep enough, or the reason why they're going to finish this race is not strong enough, it's exactly when they give up. And so if you're at home and you have a pad, I want you to write this down. Leaders don't often lack motivation. They lack purpose. Leaders don't often lack motivation. They lack purpose. What is the deeper reason you're doing what you're doing right now? I mean, real deep down. Is it for a kid, a parent, your team? Like what is it? Really deep down, what is it? Okay, so number one is to be committed to a cause. If you're going to be committed, we got to be committed to a deeper cause. And your challenge today is to write down what that deeper cause is for you. The second thing, we'll go through these really quick. The second thing is to be an agent of action. And we've covered some of this today through some of other speakers. But at the very beginning of the pandemic, my 9-year-old said, Dad, I really want a trampoline. Like, I'm going to jump on a trampoline every single day if you just get me a trampoline. With 2 kids in a house and a wife and everyone worked from home, it seemed like a great idea. But there was a back order of trampolines. You couldn't get them. So we arrange all this, months go by, we buy it, it finally shows up on a Friday, except the people that were going to put it together aren't coming for another week, Mel. So now imagine this trampoline shows up in boxes and you got this 9-year-old chomping at the bit and he says, Dad, you got to put it together. I'm like, I can't put together the trampoline. Long story short, I went out there, my wife and I, we get out there, we put this trampoline together, all kinds of ups and downs, takes days and days, and we finally put together this spring-free trampoline. My arm, I think, is still sore to this day because of how difficult it was. But it taught me a really important lesson, and that lesson is this: showing up or giving in excess isn't action, it's convenience. Mm-hmm. I was able to buy the trampoline because it was coming from excess, but putting it together was action. It wasn't something I wanted to do or had the time to do or I had the know-how to do, but it took action to do it. So if you're out there right now, I want you to really ask yourself this question. What's one thing that you could do proactively that you aren't doing today? To advance that cause, to advance that mission, to advance something that you really care about. What's just one thing that you're not doing today that would advance that cause? Okay, number 1, commitment to a cause. Number 2, be an agent of action. And number 3, elevate the standard. Elevate the standard. All a standard is defining what good looks like, Mel. Good leaders don't define what good looks like. Great leaders define what great looks like. Mm-hmm. I was driving down I-77 today, driving back to Charlotte, and I see all these speed limit signs, and I couldn't help but think, my behavior is dictated by these speed limit signs that I see on the road. Mm-hmm. That's all a standard is. So if you want to go do more, become more, achieve more in your life, and you want to be more committed to leadership, what standard that exists today do you need to elevate? Do you need to elevate? I'll kind of close with these last 2 things about standards, because all of the standard, defining what great looks like, standards, it's called the route to results from building the best. Standards produce behaviors, behaviors become habits, and habits become our results. Standard defines what great looks like. It modifies our behavior, which is a conscious choice that we have to make. When we make that conscious choice 33 to 66 straight times, it becomes a habit, something that we do so often, it becomes the very essence of our being. We do it without thinking. And when our habits get in the right place, those become our results. So if you're really interested in being a more committed leader for yourself, recommit yourself to the cause. Number 2, be an agent of action. And number 3, elevate the standard. Because if you can do those 3 things, you'll be on your way to being a more committed leader. And that's exactly what's required today.
Wow. You made me think about a lot of things. I think every single person I'm seeing here in the chat, I've got stuff coming in. We have so many people, John, that agree. This is the steps of interested versus commitment. It's a big deal. It's a big deal today. And I want you, if you're going through change and you are doing something that it's not of your heart, it's not of your heart. You're just interested in it. You're doing it because you need a job, right? Or you're doing it because somebody else told you that you should do it. Really think deeply into your heart and what you love to be committed to. What are the things that make your heart sing? We've got it in the workbook. What do you cry about? What do you sing about? What are you passionate about? What can you get committed to make a bigger impact in the world and in your life? In your life. It could be right in front of you. It could be in your family. So really think about this today. John, this was phenomenal. You always deliver just greatness. You elevate all of us as leaders because you help us build the best for our lives. You really do. I so appreciate you. You can say an ego of, you have all these subscribers, you have all these followers. Everybody on here follows you on LinkedIn.
That's so kind.
We love you. You really encourage us. You're consistent, and that's part of it. You're consistent in delivering the message from your heart. And I think when you do that and you show up every day. We show up here. I so appreciate you. And I want the leaders that are listening today, I want them to connect to you. If you guys are in the VIP room, you've got links in here in the book so that you can connect to John, follow and subscribe to his newsletter. It's really important that you stay connected. These inner circle people, right? Stay connected, not just, okay, we watched the seminar, we've got the replay, we're going to watch it later again, we're going to share it with people, but take the action, right? Get on LinkedIn, take the action, start the connection and the communication, because this changes you. This changes you when you commit to your life. You commit to leadership. And so, John, I just love you. I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I hope everybody has a great day, and keep it up. Your leadership matters, and we need it more than ever.
We need it more than ever. Thank you so much. You heard it here from John Eades. Thank you, John, so very much. We appreciate you. Have a great day. And thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
All right. Oh my gosh. Are you guys, can you believe that? John Eades in the house. He's on the Zoom chat. If you guys have questions, again, please just, send your questions. We're going to answer all of those in the VIP room after this event. And you can connect to John with all of his links there in the workbook as well.